What's happening? Thanks for joining me on this Wednesday. Happy hump day to all of you. Of course, before we get into the podcast stuff, I just want to mention it's 9/11. I was at the University of Rhode Island, 9/11, 2001. I was in a little cafe spot with a journalism class after waking up to the news that the first plane had hit. Myself and my roommate, a little bit confused over what in the world was going on, what was happening. And just one of those moments that you will obviously never forget. Lots of people around today walking this planet were not around on the planet back in 2001. They have no idea what it was like and how things got a little bit crazy there, or a lot crazy. So I just think of those lost. I think of that moment. I think of that day. A very difficult time for our country, and always 9/11 top of mind when you talk about tragic events and tragic moments in this country's history, and really the history period, end of sentence. So I just wanted to say that at the top. I've got a number of things we've got to talk about. And by the way, I want to talk about Monday's video. The numbers were great, and I appreciate every single one of you for being there, liking and commenting and subscribing to this video, to this content, showing up, if not every single show, every other show, every few shows. So thanks a lot for those numbers. It's because of you. And it's always the same stuff, right? How we get engagement, how we create that engagement. It's always the most simple things. Takes little time, doesn't cost you any money. You throw that thumbs up at the YouTube channel as you're watching. Don't forget to give us that like. Don't forget to comment on the video as well, whether you're watching live or you're watching on demand. You can like, you can comment, and subscribe. We are about 10 people away. We're about 10 subscribers away from hitting our goal at 3,500. So you do not want to miss the opportunity of being part of this community as we talk about this Patriots season. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and of course, Spotify, Apple Pods, my friends there, rate and review. I want to talk about Jacoby Brissett and the quarterback position on this football team and the decision that the Patriots made by starting Brissett week one. There was a lot of talk about Brissett versus Drake Maye. Were they making a mistake by not starting Drake Maye week one? Just throw him out there. And so I dug deeper into the Cincinnati win before I start to preview this game coming up this weekend. I wanted to take a look at Cincinnati one more time, dive deeper into the statistics, because on Friday, it's going to be all about the Seahawks game, what the Seahawks do well, what they don't do well, how the Patriots can attack them, some of the issues the Patriots may have against that football team on Sunday here at Gillette. So before we nip Cincinnati in the bud and we close the door on week one, let's look at the quarterback and let's look at what Jacoby Brissett did, because his game against Cincinnati last weekend, in many ways, to me, justified the decision by the Patriots coaching staff and the Patriots organization to pump the brakes on Drake Maye, be patient with the rookie quarterback, and go with the veteran. I'll tell you a number of different reasons why I feel like Brissett justified that decision. He withstood offensive line pass protection issues. I talked about this on Monday's podcast. A lot of people mentioning what was going on with the offensive line. There was some hyperbole. The pass protection wasn't good at left tackle. It wasn't very good at right guard. A lot of that had to do with stunts in games and some lack of communication. But the pass protection issues and the nature of those issues were something that Brissett was able to withstand. And you go back, Evan Lazar tweeted this out, the Patriots had a 48.3 pressure rate allowed. That's Lazar's number. That was the highest in the NFL in week one. The Patriots allowed 4 unblocked pressures. Greg Bedard tweeted out that the pressure rate allowed was 44.8. That's Pro Football Focus's number, which was the second highest in the league behind Denver. Bedard has his own pressures that he keeps track of and his own pressure rate. And Bedard's pressure rate was over 51% and almost at 52%. Withstanding that pressure, right? The unblocked pressures. not being rattled, standing in the pocket, being firm, being solid, understanding the situation, seeing what was coming, and being able to beat at times what was coming his way. Brissett only took 1 sack, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. Bedard's pressure percentage again was at, around 51, 52%. Brissett's getting pressured on half of his dropbacks against Cincy, but he only gets sacked once. That's understanding the pocket. That's understanding the pressure. That's understanding what you have to do to get out of harm's way. Just taking that 1 sack. It also tells you that against the pressure of Cincinnati, Brissett was decisive. He saw what was in front of him. He was able to diagnose it, and he was able to get rid of the football and do the right thing at the right time to move the ball down the field. And that decisiveness, I don't think, would have been as consistent if it was even there. I don't think it would have been as consistent if it was Drake Maye at quarterback instead of Jacoby Brissett. The decisiveness existed on Sunday because Brissett's a veteran, because he had experience against this Cincinnati front. He understood what Lou Anarumo likes to do as a defensive coordinator. Here's what Greg Bedard wrote about Brissett. He was mostly impervious to pressure. Since 2021, when a Patriots quarterback faced at least a 40% pressure rate, the average grade from Bedard for those quarterbacks was a minus 5.7. A minus 5.7. For Brissett to put up a plus 13.8, which he did. So again, I'll say that one more time so you can truly soak it in and appreciate it. Since 2021, when a Patriots quarterback faced a 40% pressure rate, the average grade of that quarterback from Bedard was a minus 5.7. Brissett faced almost 52% pressure and finished with a grade of 13.8 on the plus side. That's a whole different universe. And Bedard writes, it's a huge credit to Brissett and a testament to his toughness that endears him to his teammates and earned him captain status. Maye, just think about this. In his first start on the road, facing about 52% pressure rate, I would not be comfortable with that thought. I would not be comfortable with the rookie quarterback facing more than 50% pressure on his dropbacks against that defense on the road. Week 1, game 1 of his NFL career. And it just feels like Brissett was able to slow things down just enough. He was able to understand what the hell was happening, and he was able to take advantage of some situations, escape others, and get the best out of difficult challenges at times in that game. So he withstood the pressure, he dealt with it, he understood it, and he took advantage of it at times. And the game plan was obvious. We could talk about ceiling, right, of quarterbacks, and we've talked about the ceiling of Drake Maye versus the ceiling of Jacoby Brissett. We could talk about all that stuff. The game plan on Sunday against the Bengals was don't try to do too much. Don't go too crazy. Don't force anything. And what you saw from Brissett was the poise of a veteran quarterback. His ability, again, to slow things down and manage the football game, right? Manage the football game calmly in the pocket. Show that poise. Show the understanding. And that's what we saw. And I don't think you see that poise from Drake Maye. And it's not because Drake Maye can't get there. It's not that I don't believe in Drake Maye. All of you know that I love Drake Maye. I love the pick. It's just when you're a rookie and you're seeing a whole bunch of different things in front of you, it could rattle you. And when you're getting a lot of pressure and a lot of people around your feet and your legs, it could rattle you. Brissett, he almost was detached from that pressure. And you saw the veteran poise. And I don't think Maye would have had that on day 1, game 1 of the season. Brissett had only one turnover-worthy play. We talked about this last Friday heading into the game, that Brissett takes care of the football. He has the lowest interception rate in NFL history. Given the amount of passes he's thrown, he's tied with Aaron Rodgers. He usually does not put the ball in harm's way. He had the one throw into the end zone that could have been picked. Hunter Henry made a fantastic play on that ball. But that was the one turnover-worthy play. One turnover-worthy play from Brissett the entire game, with all of that pressure around him, with all of the pressure getting after him, he was still only putting the ball up once in the entire game where you go, uh-oh, danger zone. That really speaks to the experience level of him and how he managed that game. You know, one mistake, that game on Sunday, think about it. Think about the big mistake from Cincinnati with the fumble near the goal line. One mistake in that game on Sunday could have changed the entire world. Could have changed everything, right? I mean, one simple mistake from Jacoby Brissett, he throws the football away to Cincinnati just once. If he does it just once, the entire dynamic of that game could have changed. Could have done a complete 180. One turnover-worthy play. Patriots were +2 turnover differential. It's a gigantic difference. And you got to think about how Cincinnati was getting the pressure. They were getting pressure with disguised looks at times. Cincinnati only blitzed 2 or 3 times in that game. So a lot of it was playing all sorts of games at the line of scrimmage, making the quarterback try to figure out who's rushing, who's not rushing. We talked about that last Friday before the game, right? Cincinnati doesn't blitz a lot, but what Anarumo tries to do is he tries to confuse you. He tries to disguise things. This guy's going to drop into coverage. This guy's going to pass rush. And sometimes you get a little lost. And so you got the pressure with those disguises. Brissett's ability, his experience to understand who was coming after him and who wasn't coming after him allowed him some opportunities to get rid of the football in timely spots and make some big plays. I'm not saying big plays as in yardage. I'm saying big plays as in big moments, big third down conversions, etc. So he understood what was happening in front of him. He took advantage as well. Brissett took advantage of man coverage. Andrew Callahan, the Boston Herald, he wrote that you look at what Brissett did against man coverage, he was 7 of 10 for 65 yards. And the Patriots the last few years, they have struggled against man coverage. Brissett was good against man. And this number might shock you. I tweeted this out earlier today at Nick C Radio. Jacoby Brissett was 7th in QBR in the NFL week 1. I'm not sitting here telling you that Jacoby Brissett is a top 10 quarterback, okay? I'm not going to fix my lips and say that would be madness. All I'm telling you is week 1, which is what we can only go off of, he was number 7 in QBR. And if Jacoby Brissett is in the top 10 to 15 in QBR any weeks, I think the Patriots would take it. I mean, I don't think you're expecting him to be any better than somewhere in the low 20s, maybe late teens at best. Any week that Brissett can finish in the top 10 in QBR is a big-time win for this football team, literally on Sunday and figuratively. The Patriots needed a settled-down, tough, poised, veteran game manager to start the season right against that defense. And the way the game played out, I believe the Patriots were 100% justified, 100% justified in starting Jacoby Brissett in week 1. With that said, the Patriots will likely have to go to Drake Maye sooner rather than later. I'm going to tell you why and have details on how the Patriots are developing Maye in a minute. First, couple things. Going to ask you again. Let's get that engagement going. Give us that thumbs up on YouTube as you're watching. More thumbs means more eyeballs. We had a very busy video on Monday, and it's because of you. There were a ton of likes. That's how this works. It's really that simple. Doesn't take a lot of your time. Give us that like on YouTube. Throw a comment in. Say hello. Tell me that you hate the show, love the show, whatever you want to say. My thoughts on Brissett. Maybe you think Drake Maye should have started week 1, and you're not buying what I just try to sell you. Let me know about it. Throw a comment in and also subscribe. We're about 10 people away from hitting 3,500 subscribers on this channel. We're about a week late on the goal of 3,500, but if we can get there by Friday, I would absolutely freaking love it. Don't forget, Crafts and Kickoffs tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, when we talk about the rest of the NFL and 5 of the biggest stories heading into week 2 of the season. And of course, Spotify, Apple Pods, rate and review as you listen to this on demand. All right, so the Patriots. I just told you that the Patriots made the right decision by starting Jacoby Brissett, the way the game played out. Starting him this weekend against Seattle's defense. We're going to get into Seattle on Friday. I started my research. I started my work today. Very fascinating football team in Seattle. We will get to Seattle later in the week. But I think it's the same kind of idea with Brissett, starting him against Mike McDonald's defense. We talked about that before the season. But I am also here to tell you that the Patriots, sooner or later, and I think it's going to be sooner rather than later, will have to start Drake Maye. And it goes back to the word I mentioned a little while ago, and that's ceiling. The ceiling of Jacoby Brissett inevitably limits this offense. The ceiling of his play, his talent level, it limits your ability to do certain things on the field and to truly explode given certain circumstances. To put it frank, the Patriots eventually are going to need more juice. They're going to need more juice from the quarterback position. They're going to need more of that raw talent, the special traits that we talk about physically with Maye. Break it down for you. Let's start with tight windows. Maye is not afraid to throw the football into tight windows. He's not afraid to attempt challenging throws. He's not afraid because of his arm strength to try to rip the football in there and trust his guy to make the play. He's also not afraid to throw the football downfield. He loves throwing the football downfield. Brissett on Sunday, he was skittish throwing the ball downfield. Evan Lazar writes this: Brissett passed on too many chances to push the ball down the field. Jacoby only threw 33.3% of his passes past the sticks. And Lazar writes that Brissett wasn't overly eager to test NFL-sized passing windows downfield. So he had guys open downfield, but he was unwilling to pull the trigger on Sunday because he was playing it safe. That goes back to his interception rate. Part of the reason why he has a very, very low, the lowest, tied with Aaron Rodgers, the reason why he has the lowest interception rate is because he doesn't put the football in dangerous situations, and he's not willing sometimes to take those shots. And we saw it on Sunday. Jalen Polk is open in the first half for a touchdown. Brissett doesn't get it to him. Tyquan Thornton, that first throw of the second half, third quarter, start things off, right? First down. They throw the ball deep, right sideline to Tyquan Thornton. Jalen Polk was open on the left side. Polk got open. And it was an unwillingness at times to throw deep. At other times, it wasn't looking or finding the right guys downfield to make those plays. So when you talk about the lack of explosivity from this Patriots offense against the Bengals, some of that had to do with Brissett. It wasn't Alex Van Pelt always being ultra conservative. There were play calls in this game. Guys got open downfield. There were opportunities for some big plays in the passing game, and Brissett either just missed them, didn't see them, or something else went haywire like the protection. But Brissett, he was not willing to test himself and to test Cincinnati's defense downfield nearly enough. The longest play from scrimmage for the Patriots was 17 yards. I believe that was a run by Mondre. So Brissett does a lot of good things, and we just went through a lot of the good that he did against Cincinnati. But he does have that limited ceiling. He's not willing to take those chances. He's not willing to try to just trust his talent because he knows he's not as talented as some other guys. And in 2024, if you want to consistently win in the NFL, you have to beat teams with explosive plays. You're not going to be able to win like you won on Sunday every single week, scoring 16 points, running the football 30-plus times, and saying we should be all set with that. Remember the Patriots' schedule. Remember the murderer's row of quarterbacks. I really like the defense. I loved what they did on Sunday. And I think the defense, as I said, will be hovering around top 10 in DVOA, closer to 10 than they are to 5. I think they'll be right at that 10 mark, somewhere from like 8, 9 to 12, somewhere in that region this year. I think highly of this defense, even without Judon and Christian Barmore. I think they will be at least a good defense, if not very good. But you have to battle sometimes fire with fire. And for you to get up early, for you to get some bigger leads, for you to, score points at a higher clip than 16 that you got on Sunday, you need those explosive plays. You can scheme some of those explosive plays, but even when you scheme them open, you have to be willing to make those throws. Not just execute them, but be willing to make those throws. And so if you want more explosivity within this offense, you're eventually going to have to go to Drake Maye because he is the more explosive talent at quarterback. It's as simple as that. The off-platform throws that he can make. I mean, when you look at Brissett on Sunday, some of the issues that he had in the passing game, he just wasn't really comfortable throwing off bootleg action. That's a problem. Alex Van Pelt's offense has a lot of bootleg action, a lot of play action into the bootleg rollout. It's going to have a decent amount of that for the quarterback to do. And Brissett looked a little clunky doing that on Sunday. For Maye, that's very comfortable for him. It's natural for him to throw the football while he's on the run. We saw it during the preseason. We saw it during camp. There's plenty of highlights from his days at UNC when he's throwing the football off platform, rolling to his left, rolling to his right, flick of the wrist, 30-yard pass downfield. And Brissett, he can't do that consistently. That's Maye's wheelhouse to a certain point. So if you want that explosiveness with the offense, you're going to have to go to Drake Maye at some point. You don't have a wide receiver one. We know that. It's why the Patriots chased Brandon Ayuk as hard as they did. They offered him more than $80 million guaranteed because they understand they need a bona fide wide receiver one. And when you don't have a bona fide guy, when you don't have somebody like an Ayuk, the quarterback talent matters even more, right? Because now you're asking your quarterback to get more out of his wide receivers. And you need to elevate the talent around you, and you're not going to be able to do that with Brissett. Brissett does some things very well, but he inevitably is who he is, right? So, you look at Jalen Polk, for example. Jalen Polk got open a number of times on Sunday. Evan Lazar wrote, the most frustrated player on this tape was Polk. By Lazar's count, Polk had 4 decisive wins on his routes that could have led to downfield targets. So not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times Jalen Polk beat his cornerback and was open downfield, and they didn't get the ball to him. They didn't get the ball to him. The unwillingness to uncork it. Lazar writes, most notably, Polk dusted the corner off the line on the 3rd down play right before the half from the 20-yard line. Polk was open on the fade route down the right sideline, but Brissett ate it for a sack. So Polk gets open, should have been 6. Brissett eats it for the sack. So Polk, he had a quiet Sunday. He had a quiet week 1, but that wasn't on Polk. When you watch the film, and Taylor Kyles has said the same thing, Greg Bedard has said the same thing, Andrew Callahan has said the same thing. I'm looking at plays online. I'm looking at clips of the all-22, and Polk's getting open. And the analytics, the advanced analytics tell you that Polk was in the top 10 of the NFL last week in winning his routes. He was getting open. They were not getting the football to him. Whether it's Brissett not looking his way or Brissett worried about throwing the football on the fade route because if he doesn't make the right throw, it's going to be a pick and he doesn't want to cost the team points. Polk was getting open. So if you want the most out of Polk, you're probably going to get the most out of Polk when you switch to Maye. Not to say that Polk is going to be invisible. He's going to win routes. He's good. Brissett has to look his way. I think Maye would gamble more often with Polk. I think he'd give him more shots. He'd give him more opportunities to make plays on the football. The other part of this is, and we're probably going to see this at least some on Sunday, teams are watching the Patriots. They see what they did last week offensively with Brissett. And Seattle, I think, is going to say, okay, you want to try to run the football against us? Try. Because what we're going to do is we're going to load the box. We're going to force Jacoby to beat us. We're going to force him to make uncomfortable throws. Seattle has really good defensive backs. They're going to see on film that Brissett wasn't comfortable throwing into tight windows. They're going to see on film Brissett was not comfortable throwing the football downfield. And they are going to force Brissett to try to make those throws. They're going to force him to throw into tight windows. They're going to force him to throw downfield. They're going to load up the box and try to slow down. Ramondre Stevenson. And teams are going to have that blueprint. And because Brissett doesn't have that extra layer of talent, he can only do what he can do. He has the limitations, right? I wouldn't pull the trigger on Drake Maye too soon. You're 1-0. You've got a shot to get to 2-0. Your defense is playing, or played at least week 1, great football. So you got that schedule that we talked about. Very difficult schedule. You've got the Seahawks on Sunday with Mike McDonald. You've got Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich with the Jets on a short week on Thursday night. I know the Jets got pounded on Monday by San Francisco. I would not compare your offense to San Francisco's offense. So you've got the Jets. They have familiarity, at least somewhat. You got Nick Sorensen, Brandon Staley with the 49ers. 49ers are very talented. You're playing at San Francisco. So the same idea to me exists if you're a Patriots fan. See what happens with Brissett this weekend. I'm still not putting Drake Maye out there until at least week 5, as long as Brissett is healthy. But see how your team plays. If Brissett continues to manage games and you continue to win more games, that does buy you some extra time in case you're still concerned. I mean, if you're giving up 50% pressure rate week 3, week 4, week 5, I would still be hesitant to put Maye out there. But inevitably, you're going to have to go with the rookie at some point later in the season if you want more from this offense. Because Brissett will do what he can do. But when you're going against good defenses, you're going against very good defenses, he's going to have to up his play. And I don't think he has that level of play to get to against some of those matchups. So we'll see how he works for the first couple of weeks. We'll see how he works for the first month. I still think the Patriots will go to Maye. Speaking of Drake Maye, what's going on with his development? Have some details on that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Getting closer to 3,500 subscribers. We're like 10 subscribers away. Tell the family, tell the friends, any Patriots fans that you know that like breakdowns of games and football talk, and send them my way. Send them to this YouTube channel. Tell them to just try it out. Give it a couple of shows. Like, comment, subscribe, Spotify, Apple Pods, rate and review. And you can also throw a comment in at Spotify as well. So the development of Drake Maye, and I want to get to the defense in a minute too, because I have a couple more thoughts about DeMarcus Covington and the defense before I bid you adieu. And again, on Friday, we've got the Seahawks preview coming up. We'll get into that game. If you watch last Friday's preview, listen to it. We had you all set up for the Bengals game. A lot of what we covered happened on Sunday. We're going to do the same thing on Friday. We're going to preview Seattle. I've started to dig into the numbers. I've started to do my work in the lab, so to speak. We'll have that full preview on Friday. Tomorrow night, my other podcast, Crafts and Kickoffs, 7 p.m. on this podcast, on this channel, on this YouTube channel. It's another podcast. It's about the NFL. We have beverages. We talk about the NFL before the kickoff of Thursday Night Football. So you want to check that out tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. All right, so here's the Drake Maye developmental plan and what the Patriots are doing. Kevin Moore from NBC 10 in Providence said that Charles Davis said Gerard Mayo told Davis that Maye is getting 30% of the first team reps in practice. Phil Perry wrote about the development of Drake Maye. Brissett shared some of the quarterback practice workload with Maye this week. Now, this is last week heading into the Cincinnati game. Whereas oftentimes a starter will get nearly all practice reps in order to plan for an upcoming game, I'm told the Patriots gave Maye more than what would be viewed as typical backup number of snaps in his first regular season week as a pro. Perry writes, it was not even a 50-50 split, but providing Maye valuable practice plays is part of New England's development plan for the number 3 overall pick. Also part of Perry's story, he wrote, it's my understanding that the coaching staff continues to be pleased with how Maye has handled what's been thrown at him. He continues to spend time along with Brissett and Joe Milton with the team's new virtual reality setup where players can throw on a headset and bank hundreds of mental reps. So Maye is getting around 30% of the snaps at practice. So it's 70-30. That's more than what you usually get. Yeah, I was watching Paul Perillo today, and Paul said when it was the whole Bledsoe-Brady thing, backup quarterback really wasn't getting any reps with the first team. So the Patriots are trying to sprinkle in at least 30% of these first-team snaps with Maye during the week of practice, to go along with the virtual reality stuff, to go along with the mental reps he's getting on the sideline, charting plays, talking to coaches, all of those things. So that is the Drake Maye plan as far as in-season goes. And so far, look, it's one game, it's 1 week, but so far, I don't think really any of us have much to complain about regarding the quarterback. Whether it was starting Brissett against Cincinnati, that looked like the right call. Whether it's, giving Maye some snaps with the first team, giving him some first team reps during the week, which is a great thing to read about. That's what they should be doing, giving him some snaps with that first team. So far, so good. We'll see if that continues to be the case. All right, let's get to DeMarcus Covington. I want to give some more love to the defense. I feel like I didn't give enough love to Covington on Monday. We didn't break down what the Patriots did defensively as much on Monday. So just some quick thoughts on that before we fully say goodbye to Cincinnati and then look forward to Seattle on Friday. I was confident in DeMarcus Covington being able to be a good defensive coordinator from day one. Maybe he ends up not being that guy. Maybe I end up being wrong. Maybe this last game against Cincy was kind of a flash in the pan. It was lightning in a bottle. It was a one-time shot. Maybe they go against Seattle on Sunday and Kenneth Walker runs all over them. Maybe. But from the very beginning of this process, I felt like Covington was the right guy. He was ready. He had many interviews throughout the NFL to be that next defensive coordinator. Many people felt like it's only a matter of time that he's going to be a head coach in the league. He was ready for this job. He was ready. And what we saw on Sunday was a downhill attack. The Patriots only missed 3 tackles. This team is so fundamentally sound when it comes to tackling. They've been that way for years. You give up 224 total yards. The most impressive thing about what happened, and the most impressive thing that I think we can look forward to continue happening, is the fact that this defense was on the same page. They were on the same page with each other. They had a bunch of different post-coverage rotations and, changes, the post-snap, pre-snap to post-snap, spinning the dial, so to speak. We mentioned Covington possibly spinning the dial throughout camp. And that's what he did on Sunday. He was spinning that dial. I mean, they were giving Joe Burrow cover 0 looks and then dropping back in the 2 safety looks. They were doing all sorts of different stuff. They were manipulating the coverage and screwing up Joe Burrow's mental. And you've got to be on the same page. I mean, when you have Christian Gonzalez for certain snaps playing man coverage opposite of Jamar Chase, and then you give them the look that Gonzalez is going to be man and he drops into a zone and plays pretty much a safety role, that's a lot to put on Christian Gonzalez. It's a lot to put on everybody else out there because everybody has to understand what Gonzalez is going to do. They all have to be on the same page. When you're changing pre-snap to post-snap as much as Covington did on Sunday, it means the players understand the idea of what you're trying to accomplish, right? They are picking up what you're putting down. And that's why the idea of continuity, bringing back certain defensive players from last year's team, even though some people were complaining about, retaining players from a 4-win team. This is what I talked about during the offseason. The reason why you bring back good football players is because you want good football players. The reason why you bring those good football players from your defense back is because your defense was the 9th best defense in DVOA last year. That is the heart right there. You're going to have a ton of turnover offensively. You're going to have so much change on the offensive side of the ball. Why would you invite more change on the defensive side? It doesn't make any sense. At least keep one phase of your football team solid and steady. And that's what they did by bringing guys back. And because you brought guys back, and because you had so many returning starters from last year's defense, you had the capability of starting well down the road. You weren't starting over, right? It wasn't like week 1 with this defense, we're going to do a lot of vanilla stuff because we're still trying to learn who we have, what they do, blah, blah, blah. No. You know what you have. These players have played alongside each other for a number of years now. Covington has coached a lot of these guys for a number of years now. And that continuity, that chemistry, that understanding of the scheme allowed you in week 1 to throw a bunch of different coverage looks and a bunch of disguised looks towards Joe Burrow. So that's why you bring good players back, even if the team sucked last year. And I thought Covington stuck to a lot of the players' strengths. They moved Keon White around. They utilized, the versatility of their safeties. Evan Lazar wrote about this. The Patriots used Jalen Hawkins to cover tight ends. Great idea. Fantastic idea. They allowed Hawkins to defend tight ends, and then you had Duggar and Peppers kind of roaming around trying to make some plays. It's a great idea. Now, Peppers a little bit better in coverage than I anticipated last year, but he's a playmaker. Let him roam around a little bit, right? So if you have Hawkins out there and you think he can defend tight ends, that opens up the world for Duggar and Peppers, and that's what we saw against Cincinnati. They kept Duggar and Peppers away from Gesicki and Hudson. They allowed other guys to defend them for the most part. And they leaned into Duggar and Peppers' ability to get downhill and make some plays and, have a little bit of range. And I wonder, how fluid will Covington be? Is this going to be a week-to-week situation? I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. I would not be surprised if Covington is changing defensive looks and changing defensive strategies from week to week, and it's all dependent on the opponent, very similar to what Bill Belichick and Steve Belichick used to do. I think we can anticipate some of the same kind of approaches from this defensive staff. A lot of guys left over from the staff, right? Mayo, the head coach, is a leftover. Covington's a leftover. Pellegrino's a leftover. Brian Belichick is a leftover. So I think you're going to see this defense show a lot of different looks, utilize players' versatility, and give offenses migraine headaches from what they're going to throw at them. 1 week in, you didn't miss Bill Belichick or Steve Belichick. Now it's 1 week. But defensively, you didn't miss the Belichicks. It was a big question I had during the camp season, during the offseason. One of the bigger questions we had about this defense was, how would they adapt without Steve and Bill? And 1 week in, they did just fine. And I'm confident that Covington will have a good plan coming up on Sunday against the Seahawks, which we will get to. Friday, 3 o'clock, live, right on this YouTube channel. We will break down Seahawks, Patriots, a thorough breakdown. We will tell you what to expect in that football game. I will give you my prediction, my pick with the spread as well. We'll get into that on Friday. Tomorrow night, crafts and kickoffs, the top 5 or at least 5 of the top storylines in the NFL heading into week 2. That's tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. We'll have a beverage. We'll hang out. Should be fun. Right on this channel, same channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It's vital. It's vital to keep this channel going, keep this podcast alive. We do that by liking the podcast, throwing a comment in, and subscribing, trying to hit 3,500 subscribers. Hope you all enjoyed this Wednesday version of the podcast. We'll be back tomorrow night with Crafts and Kickoffs at 7 o'clock Eastern. We'll be back on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, again, to preview the Seahawks game coming up on Sunday, the home opener at Gillette Stadium. Until then, be well. This, of course, has been the Nick Cattle Show. I appreciate you.